Have you ever noticed how the people who seem to have their financial lives together never talk about money, while the ones drowning in debt won't shut up about their latest cryptocurrency investment or get rich quick scheme? There's something deeply ironic about that, isn't there? The truly wealthy whisper, while the broke shout from the rooftops about their financial genius. Here's something that is going to blow your mind. According to recent studies, one-third of people earning over $200,000 per year report living paycheck to paycheck. Let me repeat that because it sounds absolutely insane. People bringing in $16,000 a month are struggling just like someone making minimum wage. If you're sitting there thinking, well, those high earners are just idiots, you're partially right. But the habits that keep a high earner broke are the exact same habits keeping you broke. I've spent years studying the habits of people who actually achieve financial independence, not the ones who just talk about it on Instagram. Today, we aren't going to talk about depriving yourself or living like a monk. We're going to look at the brutal math and the simple, boring rules that separate the wealthy from everyone else. The first reason you aren't building wealth has nothing to do with how much you make. It's a trap called lifestyle inflation. Here's how it works. You get a raise. Maybe you go from making $50,000 to $60,000. Suddenly, you've got an extra $800 a month. That feels like a lot of money, right? So what do? You upgrade the apartment, lease a nicer car, and start eating out 3 times a week. Within 3 months, that extra money has completely disappeared into your new lifestyle. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. You're running faster, earning more, but you aren't actually going anywhere. I know someone who went from making $40,000 to $120,000 in 5 years. They are more stressed about money now than they were when they were broke. Why? Because they put on golden handcuffs. They built a lifestyle that requires that high income just to survive. If you want to escape the rat race, you have to stop acting like every raise is a permission slip to spend more money. Now, this is where I usually lose about half my audience, but I need you to listen closely because this is where the math gets brutal. Americans have a bizarre relationship with cars that borders on the irrational. We've convinced ourselves that our vehicles are extensions of our personalities rather than tools for transportation. Here's the reality. The average new car payment is now over $700 per month. Over 5 years, that's $42,000. And that's not including insurance or the fact that the car is dropping in value like a rock every single day. Let's look at the opportunity cost. If you bought a reliable used car for cash and invested that $700 monthly payment into a simple index fund averaging 8% returns, over 40 years, that car payment would have grown to over $900,000. Think about that next time you walk into a dealership. That luxury SUV isn't just costing you $700 a month, it's potentially costing you $1 million in retirement wealth. Suddenly, that reliable used Toyota looks pretty attractive. While we're talking about bad math, let's talk about debt, specifically high interest debt. If you are carrying credit card debt at 20% interest, you are bleeding money, but it's worse than you think. Let's say you have $5,000 in debt. If you pay it off slowly, you might pay $8,000 in interest over the years, but that $8,000 in interest is money that could have been invested. If you had invested that money, it could have grown to $14,000. So that $5,000 debt didn't just cost you the interest, it cost you the opportunity to make money. The real cost is over $22,000. Every month you carry high interest debt is another month you are working for the credit card company instead of working for yourself. Before you even think about investing in the stock market, you need to stop the bleeding. Now, let's pivot to how you actually get rich It's a concept I call time arbitrage. Wealthy people understand that money today is worth dramatically more than money tomorrow because of compound growth. Let me tell you a story about Sarah and Jessica that will make you want to travel back in time and slap your younger self. Sarah starts investing at age 25. She puts in $3,000 a year for just 10 years, then stops completely. Jessica waits until she's 35 to start. She invests $6,000 a year, double what Sarah did, for 30 years straight. Here's the plot twist that breaks people's brains. Despite Jessica investing $150,000 more of her own money, Sarah ends up with more money at retirement. Why? Because Sarah gave compound interest an extra decade to work its magic. The lesson here isn't to feel bad if you started late. The lesson is that you cannot afford to wait another day. A 22-year-old investing $50 a month will likely end up wealthier than someone starting at 40 putting in $500. So how do you actually invest? This is where most people get scammed. They think they need to pick stocks, day trade, or find the next Bitcoin. Real investors are boring. They don't try to get rich quick, they try to get rich slowly and predictably. I recommend following a few simple rules. First, automate everything. Automation removes the biggest obstacle to building wealth, your own willpower. If you have to manually transfer money to savings every month, you won't do it. You'll find a reason to spend it. Set it up so the money leaves your checking account before you even see it. Second, stop trying to beat the market, just buy the market. Low-cost index funds that track the S&P 500 have averaged about 10% returns over the last several decades. If your investment strategy is exciting, you're probably gambling. If it's boring, you're probably making money. To make this work, you have to fundamentally change how you view the things you buy. You need to understand the difference between an asset and a liability. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Rich people obsess over assets. Everyone else obsesses over liabilities that they think are assets. Friend A buys a massive 75-inch TV for $3,000. 5 years later, that TV is worth $800. That's a liability. Friend B takes that $3,000 and buys shares in the company that makes the TV. 5 years later, that money has grown to $4,000 and paid dividends along the way. I'm not saying you can't own a TV. I'm saying you need to ask yourself, is this purchase going to make me money or cost me money? The wealthy trade short-term gratification for long-term freedom. Finally, I want to talk about what happens when you actually succeed, because most people have the wrong goal. They want to look rich. They want the respect, the admiration, maybe a little envy from their high school bullies. But once you start following these rules, you should do the opposite. You should tell no one. This is called stealth wealth. It means you have the freedom, but you don't have the target on your back. When you flash money, you attract scams, you attract fake friends, and you trap yourself in an appearance prison where you have to keep spending just to maintain the image. Some of the wealthiest people I know shop at Costco and drive their cars until the wheels fall off. They know that true wealth is cutting your own grass again, not because you have to, but because you have the freedom to do whatever you want with your time. Look, none of this is complicated. Spend less than you earn, build an emergency fund so you can stop making decisions out of desperation, invest in boring things you understand, and stop trying to impress people who don't care about you. The question isn't whether these rules work. The math is undeniable. The question is whether you are disciplined enough to follow them consistently over time. Your future self is counting on the answer being yes. If you found value in this video, hit the like button and subscribe, because we're going to keep talking about the things your school never taught you about money. Thanks for watching.